It's time for another podcast of Rainbow Gastronomy with our special foodie correspondent at Left of Straight Podcasts, Chef Lin Wheeler. Whether he's taking us to a local food and wine festival, sharing tips and recipes, or interviewing his foodie friends, Chef Lin always has something up his chef coat. So sit back, have a drink, and let's get cooking.
Hey, fabulous foodies. Welcome back to Rainbow Gastronomy on the Left of Straight Podcast Network. I'm your host and special foodie correspondent, Chef Lin Wheeler. Recently, my husband and I stayed in an all-inclusive resort for the first time and had an amazing experience. So I wanted to share a review of the 4 restaurants we visited while there. First, a little about the resort. We stayed at Secrets Divine in Cancun, Mexico. The resort itself is beautiful. It's right on the beach and has amazing views of the Caribbean Sea on one side and a lagoon on the other. It's beautifully decorated and the staff is very professional and friendly. The common areas of the hotel, especially the lobby, though air-conditioned, were still quite hot, so be prepared for that. The guest rooms were very nice and had a much more tolerable temperature for us. In fact, the room got quite cold at one point. Now, the resort has an abundance of bars and restaurants, as well as a couple of buffet areas. They also have an extensive collection of wines, some 3,000 to choose from. And try as I did, I wasn't quite able to taste them all. All-inclusive, yes and no. We were made aware that cocktails and bottles of wine in the restaurants are not included with your stay. You can order as many glasses of wine as you like, which are included, and the hotel lobby had a bar which we didn't visit. However, I believe that the cocktails there are included unless you want a top shelf spirit. The main floor buffet, where we had lunch twice during our stay, has quite good food with a very large variety of offerings. There were, of course, some Mexican favorites, some pastas, a selection of cheeses, cured meats, and beautiful artisan breads and pastries. On one afternoon, they had a taco station where you could order tacos freshly made while you waited. My favorite section was a selection of ceviches and sushi rolls. Everything here was very fresh and had amazing flavor. So for our first evening's dinner, we went to Nebbiolo, which is their Italian restaurant. It was beautifully decorated with an amazing view, though we were seated away from the window. They have a, quote, casual elegant dress code, so no shorts or flip-flops or sleeveless shirts. Tennis shoes and sandals were acceptable, as well as short-sleeved dress shirts or collared shirts, and of course dresses or skirts. This was the dress code at all the restaurants we had dinner in. The other dining options have different dress codes, all of which are listed in their descriptions on the resort's website. Now, as with all the restaurants, the service was very good here. The food, however, for me, this is probably my lowest on the list. It's not that it wasn't good, it was, but everything was just a little under-seasoned. And while I get that in a place like this, they are catering to a lot of different tastes, it all seemed to be very lacking in even just a touch of salt and pepper. That being said, I would be sure to ask your server for salt and pepper at the beginning of the meal. So I started off with a beef carpaccio, and my husband had a minestrone. The carpaccio was paper thin and topped with a little salad, crispy capers, and parmesan. Well, the salad was supposed to be arugula, but it was substituted for some mixed greens, and I wasn't made aware of that before it came to the table. The soup was classic, and my husband enjoyed it thoroughly. So for our main courses, I had the lemon catch of the day, which was striped bass. The fish was cooked to perfection. It was moist and tender with a nice crispy skin and was served with a caponata, a lemon butter sauce, and noble leaves, which was kind of made into a sauce similar to chimichurri. My husband had the Parmesan chicken, or chicken Parmesan, with truffled mashed potatoes. Again, he quite enjoyed it. It was simple but done very well. We also shared their pappardelle carbonara. So my husband had been raving about it based on reviews he saw on YouTube, but I was not impressed. This was not at all a carbonara. It was pappardelle in a bechamel sauce finished with some crumbled bacon on top. It wasn't bad at all, and if they had called it an Alfredo or a cream sauce, I would have been okay with that. Our desserts were the tiramisu, which was small but had great flavor and perfect creaminess, and the panna cotta, which was creamy with a light vanilla essence, served with some fresh berries, a raspberry sauce, and a ruby chocolate crispy rice cereal disc. Our second day, we had lunch at the Sea Salt Grill. This was one of my two favorites. The food here was seasoned perfectly from the kitchen. They started us off with a basket of bread and a trio of butters, which were delicious. My appetizer may have been my favorite dish of the whole trip, the tuna tiradito. Just thin slices of raw yellowfin tuna in an ají amarillo leche de tigre, which is citrusy and perfectly spiced, topped with julienne sweet red bell peppers, onion, and jalapeno. I really wanted to just drink the sauce right off the plate. My husband opted for one of their vegetarian starters, the watermelon tiradito. Juicy, sweet slices of fresh watermelon with lemon juice, a little watermelon radish, shaved cucumber, and almonds. It was very refreshing and lovely. We both had simple sandwiches, but they were very good. His pork belly sandwich was served on a crusty bread almost like a banh mi with a Creole salsa, and my Peruvian chicken sandwich was served on a soft roll with pico de gallo. The chicken was shredded and moist in a delicious sauce. Both came with crispy potato wedges, and the plates were dotted with an aioli to dip the potatoes in. That evening, we went to the Blue Water Grill Steakhouse. Again, nicely decorated, though a little dark as far as the lighting. We started with the seasonal tomato salad and the grilled romaine salad. The tomato salad was an exercise in simplicity, which was fantastic. Thick slices of red ripe tomatoes topped with huitlacoche powder and a puree of roasted garlic and parsley. Now, if you don't know what huitlacoche is, it's a corn fungus, also known as corn smut, which has a similar flavor to black truffles. It's outstanding. The grilled romaine salad was akin to a Caesar salad, topped with fried bread, crispy bacon, a fried egg, and grana padano cheese, and a garlic dressing. Also a good dish in its own right, however, I didn't detect any grill marks or char flavor on the lettuce. For our second course, I had the picanha, and my husband had the roast chicken. The picanha was tender and had a great grilled flavor with the right amount of char. However, for some reason, they had butterflied it, and a good portion of it was overcooked well past the medium rare that I ordered. My husband's chicken, however, had a beautifully golden, crispy skin, and the meat was succulent and tender. We had a selection of small sides, which were decent. I mean, the roasted cauliflower was nutty, but could have used a touch more char. The olive oil and chive mashed potatoes begged for salt, and I didn't find any chives in them. But the cream spinach was definitely the star of the sideshow. A hint of goat cheese tang with the cream made the spinach absolutely wonderful. We had 3 desserts as it was our anniversary, and they sent us out an Oreo cheesecake, which honestly, how can you go wrong? Now, I do feel like it was not made in-house, but bought from a purveyor, which is fine. We also had the chocolate caramel fondant with peanut butter cream and banana ice cream. This was a home run. Creamy and decadent with a touch of bitterness from the chocolate and caramel, and really pair peanut or peanut butter with chocolate, and you have me all in. And the chocolate macaron, the French macaron, the cookie was crisp on the outside with that kind of marshmallowy chew to the inside, and it was filled with a smooth chocolate filling, along with a side of what they called red fruit sorbet. I think there were berries and probably some plums in the sorbet. Our final dinner was at Dragon's, the Asian fusion restaurant. This was my other favorite. The decor was stunning and a beautiful blend of Asian styles. The service here was probably the best, but that's not to take away from any of our other experiences. The service was great at all the restaurants. We started with a bunch of appetizers here, the tom kha gai or chicken coconut soup, some crispy spring rolls, a spicy tuna roll, and a tuna sashimi dish that had an avocado mousse, some chiles, and some fresh cilantro. All the fish was amazingly fresh and tender. The sashimi was perfectly spiced with the chilies, and the avocado mousse complemented that spice wonderfully. The spicy tuna roll was perfection. My husband's chicken soup had a lovely perfume of lemongrass and a tiny hint of spice, and his spring rolls were delightfully crispy and delicious with the sweet chili sauce and sambal mayonnaise. For our entrees, they made him a chicken pad thai as he's allergic to shrimp, and everything about it was great. The tamarind sauce coated the noodles in a glossy glaze, and the dish was topped with crunchy peanuts and leaves of fresh cilantro. I had the bulgogi beef steak. This was otherworldly, guys, and to be honest, quite a bit better than the steak I had at the steakhouse. They used a filet mignon and cooked it exactly medium rare, so it was melt in your mouth tender. was topped with the most delicious bulgogi sauce I have ever tasted. Slightly sweet with a hint of spice and fresh herbaceousness that lingered on my palate. The steamed jasmine rice on the side had a nice flavor and a subtle aroma, finished with some fried garlic to add a little crunch and punch of flavor. For dessert, we had the Japanese cheesecake and glutinous rice. The cheesecake was soft, creamy, and delightful. And although I had envisioned one of those fluffy souffle type jiggly cheesecakes, this was a little bit smaller than that, but still lighter than an American cheesecake. But the star of this plate was the umeboshi sorbet. It had a sparkling tang from the pickled plums that lifted the whole dessert. The glutinous rice was a sweet, sticky rice with fresh mango, coconut cream, and a mint salad. It was the perfect texture, and the freshness of the mango and mint made what could have felt like a very heavy dessert feel like less of a gut balm. The lobby of the resort also featured a cafe serving beautiful pastries, coffees, and ice cream. Now, we didn't have much from the cafe as we ate too much at the other restaurants on most days, but we did sample the ice creams, which were very good. Now, I don't know if they make those in site or if they purchased them from one of their purveyors, but either way, they were great. So if you get a chance, I highly recommend you check out Secrets Divine in Cancun, or if you haven't been to an all-inclusive, find one in your favorite destination and give it a chance. All right, that's going to do it for me this time, guys. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Rainbow Gastronomy on the Left of Straight Podcast Network. You can follow me across all social media at Chef Lin Wheeler. My website is cheflinwheeler.com, and please check out my YouTube channel, Getting Saucy with Chef Lin. I'll see you all next time.
Thanks, Chef Lin, for another great podcast. Be sure to like this on your favorite video or audio distributor with a thumbs up or 5-star rating, and be sure to look for Rainbow Gastronomy podcasts twice a month here on the Left of Straight Podcast Network. We'll see you next time.